beneficiation of our minerals is a long-established policy of the ANC, which must be given urgent attention. We are pleased by the President's commitment that is a priority of the 7th administration, which will undoubtedly transform our economy and spur its growth. Giving impetus to the implementation of master plans developed for various industries, advancing the green economy, which includes support for the manufacturing of electronic vehicles, are important priorities that build on the progress of the 6th administration. Black economic empowerment and support for those on the fringes of the economy remain central pillars of government policy, and we welcome government's commitment to this effect. The implementation of the Freight Logistic Roadmap is a critical building block in growing the economy, ensuring that we improve the competitiveness of our economy and play a lead role in giving practical expression to the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, that backlog between South Africa and Richards Bay. It's about to be done away with in terms of this policy, and is building on the 6th administration to address the logistical crisis that we have found ourselves, opening up that the trains are running, working with the private sector. It is going to make our economy to flourish in a faster pace. Priority number 3, tracking the high cost of living. Our manifesto placed emphasis in making intervention that tackle the high cost of living, which includes prioritizing food security through broadening the basket of basic goods that are VAT exempt and land reform, amongst others. I heard others claiming easy victories, that they've brought this into the GNU. The ANC talked about the exempt of essentials in terms of VAT in the ANC manifesto. Go and check it. The President talked about it yesterday as part of these priorities of this government. The ANC government will not compromise on the implementation of the National Health Insurance to make quality health care affordable and available to all. The President signed this into law, and as you heard in the State of the Nation, there is no retreat with regard to that. The ANC is committed to expanding the social relief of distress grant, and government commitment to this effect will go a long way in broadening the social security net for those who have no other means to support themselves. We talked about basic income grant before the elections. It's in our program of action. This is what we're going to implement, expanding those who are in distress. The 350 we said will be changed to address those who are in the fringes, to enable them as they look for job and they are job seekers and all of that, whilst they are in that role, they are able to be relieved before they get employment. Invest in people is priority number 4 of the ANC. The President made an unequivocal commitment to investing in our people by meeting the basic needs of all, investing in education, improving health outcomes, and improving service delivery. This also includes ensuring that the skills, capabilities, resources, and energies of all South Africans are used to the greatest effect. Priority number 5, defend democracy and advance freedom. Our commitment to protecting and upholding the hard-won rights of workers remains unwavering. This is reflected in the President's commitment in this regard. We are encouraged that government is committed to ensuring that the progress we have made in this regard is not eroded, while it continuously strives to improve the working conditions of the workers in South Africa. The 6th priority, building a better Africa and the world. In our manifesto, we had committed to strengthen the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area through economic diplomacy. Government has committed to the realization of this goal to increase our exports to the rest of the continent. We have similarly committed to advancing progressive internationalism and solidarity with the peoples of Palestine, Western Sahara, Cuba, and others. The President made an unwavering commitment to promoting peace, security, democracy, and development across Africa through our country's foreign policy, advance a more just and inclusive world order. We are pleased that the ANC-led government of national unity has defined its electoral mandate in line with what we presented to the voters in our manifesto. It is equally an affirmation that there is more that unites us than what divides us. The various parties in the JNU may differ on tactics on how to achieve certain goals, but we are in agreement on the overarching objectives that are contained in the National Development Plan, which continues to guide the work of government. The ANC further welcomes the advisory opinion issued by the International Court of Justice, ICJ, in The Hague. According to the opinion, Israel is obligated to cease its illegal occupation in Palestine promptly. The court has stated that Israel must withdraw without delay and provide reparations for the damages caused in Palestine. It is crucial to note that all countries are urged not to acknowledge Israel's unlawful occupation or support its continuation. As the ANC, we have long held that view that the continued annexation and the occupation of Palestinian land is incongruent with international law. We have maintained that the Palestinian people have the right to a sovereign state. Given that this opinion was requested by the United Nations General Assembly, it confirms the illegality of Israel's occupation of Palestine, including violations of the crime of apartheid, a crime against humanity, and requires other nations to ensure Israel's withdrawal and not assist in its occupation. The ANC affirms its solidarity with the people of Palestine. The South African government has been unrelenting in the fight to defend the cause of peace, justice, solidarity, and multilateralism in the international arena. Our unwavering commitment to a rules-based international order, justice, and international law are expressed in our recent case at the International Court of Justice. Our defense of the people of Palestine is at the same time an assertion of the rights and sovereignty of all oppressed peoples of the world, worldwide. Our position is a strong call for a global fight for human rights and the right to self-determination, as well as categorical rejection of wars of aggression as legitimate means of solving political problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary General Mbalula. Colleagues, we're going to take questions now. Yeah, we'll do it in that order. We'll start at the back, and then we'll end with you here.
Jan Gaber from News 24. During the debate yesterday, the so-called progressive caucus, all those parties called for an amendment to Section 25 of the Constitution, the property law, despite the expropriation bill waiting the President's signature. Would the ANC support another Section 25 amendment process? Thanks.
Yeah.
From Eyewitness News. SG, what do you make of the criticism that the President's address on Thursday was just a reflection of ANC policies, not reflecting the GNU that we are in right now? And the second one, in 2020, the President promised a smart city in Lanserio. He also promised high-speed trains to connect the big cities. The President never came back to address or give an update of progress in this. What does the party have processes to actually hold its leaders accountable for misleading the public?
Junior Kumalo from Newsroom Africa. SG, there were concerns from your alliance partners on Monday that ANC's own policies are going to be diluted going into this GNU. From what you've said right now, it seems like you are satisfied that the ANC's manifesto, policies contained in its manifesto have found reflection in the President's speech. Am I reading that right? Secondly, then what is the purpose of the national dialogue? It seems like a framework has already been put in place. So what is going to be the purpose of that national dialogue? And also there are parties that have already rejected that national dialogue, including the EFF yesterday. Lastly, there are concerns again from the alliance partners that there has been no reflection when it comes to the ANC side of what happened during these elections. They're saying that even the individual that was leading the election campaign has been rewarded basically with the position in parliament instead of any consequence management. So they are fearful that this is going to repeat itself when it comes to the local government elections. Do you share those concerns? Thank you.
Marisha?
Dr. Marisa from the Sunday Times. Just maybe to take lead from what Junior just asked. Solomon Pella criticized the ANC heavily at that political school, and the SG of the ANC was present. He says the dominant faction in the ANC is now neoliberal, and basically explains why the ANC would opt for a GNU that includes what he says are colonial parties, including the D and the Federal Front Plus, instead of more progressive leftist parties such as the EFF and the MK. How would you respond? Because I believe you were not able to respond through your speech at the political school. And I mean, we raised concerns of austerity being the order of the day. The DA is part of the GNU. And I think maybe in terms of the GNU also, there's a concern that it may not last. I think we've seen quite a number of parties saying they give it a year probably, but what do you think would be the red lines that could lead to the collapse of the GNU, and why do you think, if there are any, and why do you think there's this talk of this relationship not be able to see it there, especially given what's happening in Gauteng? And maybe just to touch on that as well, are you foreseeing that it'll trickle down to provinces like Gauteng and municipalities going forward? This arrangement that you have at national level. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It will be your last question.
Okay, Celine from SABC. Mr. Mbalula, do you think that the NHI will be the first taste for the GNU to get to that point of consensus? And my second question is, what do you make of criticism that the President's speech was very light on international affairs, because it was said that that is a sore point in the government of national unity?
Thanks very much. SG?
Yes, these are very difficult questions. I did not get the News 24 question very well. Or will we support the amendment and so on?
Section 25.
We wait for what is before the President to be accomplished. The land reform program must not stop. It must proceed. We may as well arrive at that decision at a later stage. But at the present moment, we have made significant progress in terms of what is before the President's desk. And that must be, we must give President a chance to process that. And then from there we move forward and so on. But it does not mean government must stop the program of land reform going forward. And that's what is important. The second point about smart city and rail speed rail misleading the public, it is not correct. Those programs are being implemented. Remember, smart city program was identified around Lanzeria in Johannesburg, and it's in the pipeline being implemented. So what you must ask is a progress. Don't say it's misleading. An idea that is put forward, President talked about, let's imagine a South Africa where you have a train running from Messina, Johannesburg, Durban to Cape Town. I was Minister of Transport. Government is at an advanced stage to procuring because it has undertaken a case study at the present moment in terms of the speed rail. That's where you start. And then after that, you have done this, the case study. They've already committed to start a speed rail building in this administration, taking from the 6th administration from Johannesburg to Durban. So that is coming. So the case study, once it is completed, it will then lead to procuring the services of the people who will undertake the mission of building the speed rail. I've seen Panyaza talking to Matabata as premiers about the speed rail from Messina to Johannesburg. But government at the level of the Minister of Transport, in the context of cabinet and the statement of the president, this is in the works. So I suppose the question should be, what is the progress, rather than misleading? And that's what we need to ask. And that is why, as the ANC, we are firmly of the view that government does not communicate its achievement. Once the president has put up a statement, like in the State of the Nation, it is the responsibility of the ministries. President will not cover all 32 departments, for instance. But the ministries that are there must communicate the government program, including GCIS. Government has been very weak in relation to that. Only thing that government has been doing effectively is to communicate post-cabinet decisions. Yet society that you serve requires cluster briefings by ministers all the time. You can't be a minister of sports and you are not known. You are minister of forestry, you are not known. Society must at all times know who is leading government and what progress and programs are people undertaking in terms of changing their lives for the better. We hope in the 7th administration this work is going to improve from the point of view of government to communicate, because if we were communicating, we wouldn't be having reservations that what the president said is a lie. President doesn't lie, cannot lie. There is work that has been done. The key question is, what president has pronounced, how far are we? There's a lot of work that has been covered in terms of work. Umzimvubu Dam, that has been built. Senzo did a splendid job there in that department. And you will see the progress that that department has made in terms of addressing water scarcity, shortage, leaks, and all of that through PMI now. And building on the work that Senzo has already started. And a very wonderful DG in that department of water and sanitation. You will see bearing fruits and coming to fruition. So the government departments, we want to urge them as the ANC that they need to show progress in terms of the work that they do. Otherwise, we will come to the conclusion that president's speeches are misleading. And some overzealous chaps will say it's a fiction. And so, yet there is work that has been done. And when they run out of criticism, they use derogatory and insufficient criticism on the president based on lack of reportage on the part of government departments. Junior, it is very clear that there is no policy dilution. We have always said, and we want to repeat, that government of national unity is not a melting pot, in which everybody is going to agree with what we do. Do you think that the DA opposition to Bella Bill, as well as NHI, is going to stop because they are in the government of national unity? Even if they were not, that was not going to stop. But the fact of the matter is that we use the 6 million vote that we've got to proceed to implement these policies. within the GNU. And we have said that look at policy, and then you then come to a conclusion of sellout. That we're basically sellout, look at the policies that we're implementing in government. What we want through the government of national unity, which is the mandate of the people, is stability. If people decide along the way government of national unity is not working for them and they decide to leave, that is their choice. You can't stop them. Government of national unity is not cast in stone. Now, this thing that some chaps were elevating as a key strategic thing, that government of national unity is gonna end. It might end, but it will not collapse. Government. You must understand the politics properly to come to a conclusion that something is going to collapse. It might end, it will not collapse. And it is correct that those who come through government of national unity themselves will want to make a point and a statement that they are not just passengers, they are there to prove their record. But let me explain to you. ANC with 40% still has got sway over key strategic government departments to realize its goals. So it's not a surprise that President Ramaphosa reads ANC's manifesto in the statement. Why should it be a surprise? Because GNU is led by the ANC. Why should it be a surprise in KZN when Ntuli, Umpemba, the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, reads Inkatha Freedom Party manifesto in the government of national unity in KZN? Why? It shouldn't be. That's how it should be. ANC cabinet MECs in KwaZulu-Natal will make it a point that in those MECs, they deliver and they drive the program of social transformation to recoup back the lost ground in KwaZulu-Natal so that the ANC can come back into power. Even in the GNU, and others have rejected because they wanted a marriage. We don't have a marriage. What the EFF and Zuma want is a marriage, which is not clearly defined. Worse off with Zuma. He was there, I saw him there yesterday, and they were demanding he must be recognized like a Dalai Lama and so on. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we are not about that. We are about substance, of transforming the lives of the people for the better. They don't debate the issues that the president put on the table and even argue for their case, but they are labelers and derogatory and attacking. But the fact of the matter is that the statement that the president have presented to the Republic, it's a program of action of government, and that's what we welcome. And that program of action, largely, it is based on the ANC 6 priorities. I've just, in an elaborate manner, presented that in terms of the statement, and it is out for circulation. Now, it shouldn't be a surprise. Of course, it's a political game and opportunistic purpose on the part of others to seek to define GNU as a sellout position. The purpose of the dialogue, national dialogue, which is going to proceed, is about mobilizing broader sections of South African society to give meaning to social compact of South Africa working together. Yes, EFF rejects everything. They even rejected, they didn't come to the coalition's meeting and all of that. They sent their mascot in the form of ATM to represent them there and insult the coalition conference, and then he left. So those people, you don't expect them to work for national unity in South Africa. It's our program of action. Civil society, churches, and everybody, you were there at the inauguration. What did the people say? They welcomed the government of national unity. Don't look at the government of national unity in relation to political party interest. Look at it broadly, including those who did not come to vote, by the way. Who did not come to vote, who sat down and said, I've got a grievance. My situation has not improved. I did not have electricity. I love the ANC, but I'm not going to stand up in the queue and wait and cast my vote once again. Up until they show me that they care about our interest, I will stand up and vote. And my belief in this party will be rekindled. People's interest is critical. The ANC could have gone with a selfish approach that is purported out there of just two parties and run government. It will be disingenuous to what has become. It will equally be arrogant that this party does not see that it has lost power. We have lost power 40%. And we are still in the center of social transformation. We characterize it as a setback. It is a setback that a genuine revolutionary party take serious analysis about that situation and take steps. We have had many options which now we have passed. We've got a GNU is being implemented, including the possibility of becoming a backbenchers, rerunning of the elections. We are here now. Minority government with elements of confidence and supply. This is what you've got. You still have got political parties that are part of the GNU, but they are not in government. They are here in parliament. They are chairing SCOPA. Others are chairing appropriation committees and all of that, but they've endorsed the GNU. And the GNU is not a melting pot. It doesn't mean that when parties arrive in the legislature, they must toe the line because they are in a GNU and all of that. That's not the case because we don't agree in many fronts and so on. And that is going to continue like that. The ANC will work with all parties that will seek, like we have done even when we had a decisive majority, to be in a position to mitigate the situation politically in the legislatures. So the purpose of the dialogue is to get South Africa going and get into a dialogue and at the same time build a social compact among all sections of our society. It has been welcomed and it's going to take off immediately after these processes are finalized. Now that we have had the president, we have had the inauguration, we have had the first sitting of parliament and the first debate in the 7th administration. Now it's time to dialogue going forward. Elections, reflections and alliance. We are going to have reflections and robust and honest about what went wrong in terms of these elections. It is unfortunate that the General Secretary of the Communist Party, his views were overly publicized. We perhaps need to interrogate what he means, that the ANC has got a dominant faction of neoliberalism without suppressing his view. But what the party must understand is that the ANC exercises its rights as an organization. It has got its National Executive Committee and can take decisions. And the fact that we consult each other is a principled matter, that we've got to work together as an alliance. And fundamentally, you need to understand that none of these political parties that they are pepping up in parliament are allies of the broader liberation movement and the progressive forces in the country. Our allies is the Communist Party, COSATU, and SANCO. All these people who are here in parliament who are very colorful in their rhetoric are not our friends. They are not our friends. Zuma decided to break the ANC and divide it, and he's not going to stop about it. He decided to break us and reduce us below 40%, and he doesn't have a program of action of what he's going to do with that 40%, except sending a questionable judge to Parliament. Very questionable character. Send him. Just to spit on the face of South Africa, he brings Hlophe and even send him to the JSE, just to show us that he's got no respect for constitutionalism and everything else. And then to spit on our face, he brings him to Parliament. And then to say, lead these people. What does Hlophe say? The first thing is asked, why do you agree to lead this party? He says, no, it's because they embraced Zulu monarchy. And then I'm proud Zulu. That is what we call how we characterize ethno-nationalistic ideological characterization of this party. He doesn't say, I'm happy as a Democrat to participate in the discourse and to lead a party like, because that party does not have a meaning except a grievance. And even when he speaks, he's very angry. He's very angry. Ramaphosa is a liar. He doesn't know what he's talking about. His speech is not written by him. What does that have got to do with the content of taking South Africa forward? Now, the bankruptcy of these characters, you are going to see it going forward. But it must not deter us from doing what is right for the people of South Africa. They are a product of a democratic process. They are a product of a democratic process. The ANC and its allies must sit down, and this is what we are going to do in a 6-day meeting, and talk to each other in the political council later on, and even the secretariat of the alliance, talk to each other about these issues. If the Communist Party have arrived at the conclusion that the ANC is neoliberal in its approach and outlook ideologically, they've got to present that to the ANC and say that because of the following policies and what you are doing, you are neoliberal, then we've got to interrogate that. Now, to make a sweeping statement in a political school and then say that ANC leadership faction is basically deepening divisions. It's not constructive from the Communist Party. But you don't expect the Communist Party to romanticize GNU and agree with it. It's a very important moment where we are, and you don't expect COSATU to agree with GNU. You don't expect members of the ANC who are not in the NEC to agree with the GNU. We have briefed all our structures throughout the country. We are going now to the regions to engage them, to politicize them, and to say to them why we arrived at the decision that we arrived at. Let us not be told that because the DA is part of the GNU, it's a sellout position. Who said that if others were party to it will not still be characterized as such? What does EFF stand for? When they voted with the DA in the past, why are people so obsessed with the progressive nature of the... Every time EFF had an opportunity to work with the ANC, they threw us out. They gave Tshwane to the DA. They gave Johannesburg to the DA. They gave Port Elizabeth to the DA. They wanted to give eThekwini to the DA. And now you are basically told by a populist that they've got something to prove, that they can stand for. They are ideologically astute. The revolutionary insurrection, rephrase mongering, must move us. We are not moved by that. We know what we stand for. We know what the DA is. And it's not going to change us towards the DA. We know that their populist rhetoric is what they sold to our people, and they don't eat in the base of the DA, they eat in the base of the ANC. EFF does not organize in the suburbs and persuade the broader section of the South African populace that is seen to be favoring the DA to be on their side. They mobilize in our townships. They mobilize our people against the ANC. They cripple the ANC, just like Jacob Zuma. It does that. So what is so fashionable about them that if we had worked with them, it would have been a better option? First and foremost, as I conclude on that point, they rejected GNU, and then they did not know what they want from us. And two, they rejected our president. Zuma said he doesn't want our president. Today we have been asked to work with him. We said to us, if you don't want our president, he's a redliner. We said so. Today it has been distorted. These people are not even being asked what do they stand for, except the land rhetoric. We have taken the land reform ministry beyond rhetoric and gave it to the PAC. And we're going to support them to get the land back. What are you talking about? 1% seat, political party, liberation movement. We gave them a significant position in the government of national unity. If they came, they wanted to be part of government of national unity, we would have also given them positions in that government as the ANC. They said they don't want to come in. They want, and one of their very colorful leaders used this terminology: you are a dying party, you are better off dying in our hands than on the other side. Now somebody comes and negotiates with you and say you are a dying party, you are better off dying with us than with the other side. And then it tells you that it's not arrogant. We said we're getting into negotiations, and we're not going to go into these negotiations with a cap in the hand. With our 40%, we will decide what we want to do. We will decide to deepen the national democratic revolution and preserve what our people want, which is what I've explained in our manifesto. That's what we're doing. We're not concerned about ideological confusion and concoction that we have been persuaded to follow at the speed of the moment. We are persuaded by policy. The minute the president and his cabinet are going to tell us that NHI cannot be implemented in our government because of the constraints of the government of national unity, then we will know that is the moment of selling out. This president of ours and his collective have given us not just a blueprint, a program of action that unites South Africa, that addresses the statement of intent that is fundamentally about the redress of our society. That's how you must judge them. And that's what is important to us. We will engage with the allies, as I've said, and it doesn't mean that Solima Paila, as the General Secretary of the Communist Party, has got no right to characterize the ANC as neoliberal. We are interested to know how did he arrive at that. The time of talking through public platforms and insult each other and not behave maturely as the alliance are over. I can do the same. You are saying, Madisha, I was at the NEAU conference. I dealt with politics at the NEAU. Soli spoke after me. And it was right for him to talk to the workers and characterize issues from a political context and ideologically, why he arrived at that particular thing. Now we're dealing with snippets, you know, like gossip, WhatsApp group. And Soli, we don't know what he said and why he arrived at that particular conclusion. Okay, maybe because of the DA and all of that. And so what he says, we're better off to work with the others. And we can equally engage. Who said these others are better off than the DA? Because our ally is COSATU, Communist Party. All these people are not our friends. We work with them in the best interest of national interest of South Africa. And what is that national interest to us? Is stability of government, is a government that is working for the people. And then in that government, the ANC must then realize what it promised. The 6 million people and even beyond what we can do as a party. and that we can renew ourselves. We have been told that will drop below 50%. And then we fought very hard not to drop. We knew. Even our own research told us that you are standing at 43%. We even went below 43% to 40%. What does that tell you? That's why we characterize it as a significant setback. What does then the ANC do to respond to that situation? You are not going to respond to that situation by labeling. You face the truth as a party. You don't look inward. Stop fighting about positions. People are not interested in that. They are interested in changing their lives for a better. There are people in the ANC already who are obsessed about the conference that is coming. They must be stopped. They must be stopped. We are in a big problem. Big challenge, 40%. There are still people who are entertaining who must be the leader of the ANC as a primary program of action of the ANC. And they think that is revolutionary because they live for that. We can't be a party like that. We change or we ship out. We are now with one foot in and the other one out. Probably this man next to me had ambitions to become minister, but it's impossible. It's impossible with 40%. It's impossible to become minister Mchana with 40%. You will be minister if the ANC comes and regroup and win with the bigger majority. Even without looking at that, we are obsessed who becomes the leader. It can't be like that. This organization will die. Here in the Western Cape, we are having a meeting now. Western Cape, we are not giving DA the run for their money. It's business as usual. Cannot be. Cannot be. We've got to be a serious party that fight for its people and become an opposition here in the Western Cape and become visible, not only during elections. Even Gayton Mackenzie has performed far better than us in certain areas in this province. Why? Why is the ANC not obsessed with that? These are the things we are going to discuss in our meeting, 6-day meeting. Madisa, dominant faction, I've answered that question. The leftist party. Yeah, no, I'm answering. I'm with Madisha now. Leftist party, austerity and all of that. I've answered that question. What is left today is very diluted. In political terms, it is very diluted. There is a concern that the GNU might not last. I've answered that question. That we need to understand that the GNU may last, may not last. The question is when it then does not last, what leads to it not lasting? What we know is that we are advocating for stability for this country, and that government must continue in a big way. Yes, GNU to local government, that can happen. And I just want to clarify this issue about Gauteng. There is no Gauteng that defied national. We gave Gauteng to negotiate. We agreed with the DA and others when we're talking that we will allow provinces to negotiate on their own. And Gauteng, by the way, did not reject the DA. They did not agree on the modalities of constituting cabinet. Now, you see, the leader of the EFF does this thing of using gossip in the ANC to try and divide. That game is over. I saw him changing that into their strategy. That in Gauteng will support the ANC because we want to prove to them their national leadership. This, that's a gossip. When he sits with his friends in the ANC, they gossip about the ANC and they change that into a strategy. That's a gossip. It ends there. What they have there in Gauteng, they have a deal with the ANC in local government. And we're going to look into that deal. And if it means the GNU must find expression in metros, the ANC will decide. National Executive Committee. And it has already started in Ekurhuleni. And we are doing wonders there in Ekurhuleni. Because we did not manage to pass budget in Ekurhuleni for years because there was an EFF chap there who was not helping us with the finances and all of that. He was removed by the mayor. Everybody is yearning for progress in local government. Local government is a mess, especially the metros. Go to Johannesburg and see, or Pretoria, and see what an unstable government does to the people. The people suffer. Now, it is easy at national level to have the government that we have, and then we are able to bring about stability. Even if the GNU people were to decide tomorrow, it is game over, I'm leaving, nothing will change. We'll just replace that person in government. And government will continue. It will probably move from GNU to minority government. So what they are yearning for, these people, they are yearning for a collapse of government. And where are the people's interest in that? If we think of ourselves, we don't think of the people first. We serve that it is in the interest of this country and the people of South Africa to have a stable government. In the world, it has never happened that a government can be concluded, a president elected, and then a GNU established, bloodless, within record time. Other countries take a year, even halfway to the next election. You know, I was in DRC the other time. I was shocked when I arrived there, the president was still busy negotiating to establish government. But they've eventually established government. Long after the election, what happened in South Africa? Everybody maturely came around, we established government, and the ANC provided leadership. With the 40% we've got, we didn't go around and do all funny things that anyone could do in a precarious position that a party that was so dominant could do. We didn't do that. We worked with everybody, established government, and we're leading. Matamela is leading us. And that is what is important. And then the last question is, President was light. I don't know what you mean he was light. I think he affirmed a foreign policy. And then we have made greater progress now with our interventions at an international level with regard to the work we have started in terms of Israel-Palestine issue. And we thank all the Muslim people in this country who have voted for the ANC because of our stance on Palestine. But we have always said to them that we don't need vote of people on Palestine because Palestine is our program as the ANC. It will never change. Up until Palestine is free, we will not relent. And we thank all people of this country, Muslims, who have voted for us. And we know in Gauteng, in the Western Cape, everywhere else, because they don't constitute a bigger population in terms of vote, but they did vote. And we know what that vote means. And we are not about to betray them. And we have never betrayed the cause of the Palestinian people from Nelson Mandela to Ramaphosa. And we still maintain that till today. And we will continue up until Palestine is free, Western Sahara is free. We will not stop up until the blockade is uplifted against the Cuban people. The liberation movement in this country, led by the African National Congress, will not relent. Will not relent in that cause. Otherwise, that will not only be the betrayal of anything else, but it will be the betrayal of who we are as a party. We know of people who are pseudo-revolutionaries who went to collect money in Morocco for their campaigns in this country and forgot the plight of the Palestinian people. We know. They went there, collect money, do everything of what they can, and because they got support. They got money from Israel. But they are revolutionaries here in our country. Big revolutionaries. They were supported by Israel because our government was firm. And they are not going to tell us where to turn, because when the time is right, we'll tell them who they are. And that's what we'll do. When the time is right, we'll tell them who they are and what they represent. And that is what is important for us. So I don't understand light, but the president reaffirmed the principles of this government in terms of foreign policy. Human rights, self-determination, freedom of peoples, and so on, advocating for multilateralism against unilateralism. That's what South Africa will do and will do, working with others. And today, when the United Nations says Israel act in this manner, that's what we want. Up until Palestine is free, Western Sahara is free, there will be no retreat on our part. Thank you very much.
Thanks, colleagues. I think you are answered now. We have exhausted your questions. SG, thanks very much. I think we are done with the business of the day. We'll meet once again, and thanks for coming.
You speak like Zuma now. We'll meet someday.
So where's what?
We'll meet someday.
Yeah, we'll meet someday.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do a short one.
Okay, it's fine. Dwaba.
Yes.
You're very constructive.
You know.
Otherwise, you could have asked me that question.
No. I wanted to do it afterwards.
I did.